I love this version.
Thanks so much.
In the world, walk with me in the gentle rain.
Yeah.
Little one, you have me in the world, and our love will be sweet for a while.
Oh, that must be the. Wait.
Sorry, hold on one sec.
No, that's.
I'm with you, pretty baby.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This is the promo video or something, right?
Yeah.
Dreams around you. Happiness will never cease. Life ain't any good without you, baby. Baby, you're my center. They'll find your home and garden somewhere. Down the country roads, middle cottage on the outskirts. Baby, we can find relief. Life ain't any good without you, darling. Baby, you're my center. Heart's a heart, a life's a life, but love may not be seen tonight. If you're not stopped, be alright. Blackbird, bye. December, bang 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 sell, bing bang 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 da da. Do this song now, bing bang sell, did on feel bell, bing did long, did on pepper, bang bang did bang bang, bang 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 singing over the dealing da da. Bang little cell by the leo, bang little cell, little did I let, people fair, bang little young, little bell, bubble, bubble, way out, we are the cell, did I live, but did I sell? The people sound, you people fair, that sound.
Wee-hoo!
There we go.
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at stop share. Wee-hoo! I can stop share that. And sorry, I'm looking at stop share. Wee-hoo! Oh my goodness, there's so much to do, you know. I was going to cut and paste on our YouTube showing so that people coming on YouTube could see exactly what was happening. So just give me a moment. I'm going to do this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My guest today is my dear friend and incredibly talented Paul Jost. Hello, Paul Jost.
Hello, Cathy. How are you?
Fine. Really good.
Thanks so much for having me on. It's
Yeah,
always
well,
great to spend time with you.
I know it's always great. And also, you were one of the first people on the show. Here we are. You were one of the first people on the show. Were you when I was using the iPad still?
Yeah, I know it was at the very beginning. You didn't have it as sophisticated as you do now. And I know that I talked a lot. So I figured if I just don't say anything on this one, you could probably piece together one decent one of both of them. You know?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to talk a lot, and I'm going to like it, and that's what's that's what's going to happen.
Well, when friends tell me that they're doing your show and they say, "Wow, 2 hours," and I always say, 2 hours with Cathy is like, believe me, you'll finish in 2 hours and you'll think, "Wait, I have more to say," because she's just so affable and it's just very conversational. It's just like being in the same room and really enjoying your time. And everybody says the same thing. They can't believe how quick it went by. You're just a really great interviewer. It's just a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Thanks. It's pretty fun, and I know that there are a lot of podcasts and interviews on, but I actually think the casualness of this is appealing, so yeah, I like it. I told you I talked to David Lynx last week, and yeah, at the end of the 2 hours, we could have gone on for sure. He's a good talker too. Yeah.
I've never spoken with him, but I'm a real fan of his, and I think he's going to be in Philly. Either he's on his way here, or he's going to be here, or something.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we might connect in some way. I think he's going to do something on WRTI, which is the jazz station out here. They might be doing an interview with him or something.
Yeah, I would love to hear the two of you sing together. I think it would be electrifying, actually, quite electrifying.
No, well, thanks for saying that. He's a real gem.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I know so much about you. You and I are good friends, and we have, for those of you who don't know this, because why would you? Paul and I have conversations that remind me of having a best friend in junior high school. It's like, oh yeah, and then da 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 da. Oh yeah, and then blah 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 blah, and then 2 hours later. Yeah, I don't have many friends like I have friends I could talk with a lot, but for some reason you and I have very long. It's good. It's very easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always rewarding for me. I always feel a little more centered after we get done.
That's good. At least I'm not more dispersing. So I'm just gonna, when I was actually looking at your bio, which I'm gonna bring that up again because it's yeah. I've of course, since I met you, I knew you were a singer, a composer, arranger, and a drummer. And can we talk a little bit about your composing, because you actually have composed a lot, and so I'd like to actually talk about that first.
Sure.
Did you just start composing for no real reason, like when you were younger?
So I remember I guess right after I left Berkeley, or maybe it was before I went there. But I started to get this itch to write songs. It might have been before there. And a friend of mine who was my best man at my wedding, Dominic Paris, he's a wonderful film director now, has Illuminations, they do all this really, killing like cartoon stuff, but it's like 3D stuff. Really fantastic, great artist. Anyway, he and I went to go visit two friends of his, Cindy and Amy, and that was my first song. I wrote this song about Cindy and Amy. And boy, I tell you, for me, it was a very commercial song, but it ran through the alphabet. The form of the tune was like the alphabet twice. It was double A, double D, all the. And I thought it was very commercial, and that was my first attempt. And then I started writing. I got better at it, and I started writing a lot more. And I've written, a lot of songs. More as a singer-songwriter.
Uh-huh.
And, in all styles. Like I really love country music and, adult contemporary. I just write what I feel. And, like my country tunes, like, from years ago, I would still like incorporate like some jazz harmonies here and there. So I'm just running down a thread here, but like the thing I loved about the Beatles was that there was something so accessible in their music, and then in every song there seemed to be this one little section that was such a surprise, like wow, and that's what made me like really appreciate the inventiveness of what they did,
Yeah.
and not comparing myself with their great writing that they've done, but I try to do the same thing, and it wasn't always on purpose. It would just kind of come out that way. Or, there might be a bar of 3 in a 4/4 tune that you didn't even notice because it just kind of felt so natural or something. And so naturally I would get the criticisms that, my country stuff wasn't really, it was a little bit too mixed.
Yeah.
And can you make it more this? And I wrote some country tunes with Tio Mezzrow, great Tio Mezzrow. So I ended up writing a whole bunch of stuff, a lot singer-songwriter stuff, and then I've had a couple tunes recorded by Carl Perkins and the group The Band, and Rick Danko recorded some songs on his.
Okay, so don't rush over that because that's kind of cool. That's
it was great.
big. Carl Perkins and the band.
Carl Perkins, Carl Perkins, man, what
Wow.
My threads run so vast. I've always loved all kinds of music if it hit me in some way, and that's kind of what I try and offer students or whatever. Like, don't put the blinders up yet. Stay open to possibilities, and it's okay if you like something that other people don't or whatever. Let it speak to you, and if it does, then great. And I might have said this before, like if someone likes the painting or something of Elvis on velvet, if you like that, then you buy it and you put it in your house and you appreciate it. You don't need to qualify it to some other person that, well, I only like, Monet, like, well, good, that's great. But you can like Elvis on velvet too if you want. It's okay,
I have a few pictures like that. I'll show you.
Yeah, the dog's playing cards, like whatever floats your boat. Like if it strikes you in some way. I know musically there have been things that I would listen to that I maybe necessarily didn't like the music, but the production was so great.
Yeah.
Or the sound recording was so incredible. Might not have been totally into the music, but the sonic quality was like, wow, how did they get that sound? Oh, this with this, and
Yeah.
So you just stay open to stuff. And
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you for 1 second because I know we'll come back to this.
many times. Please.
But you know what I heard yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, yesterday, because Gary was out metal detecting all day, so I was home alone. So I could do whatever I wanted. And I put on, so I have a pile of records that I've been going through very slowly. Do I like this one? Should I give it to Gary to sell on eBay, or should I keep it? So Herbie Mann, Memphis Underground,
Wow.
which Herbie Mann was never one of my favorite flautists. And anyway, I put it on. The song kind of started kind of commercially, and then, man, it went psychedelic. It was done in the late 60s or mid 60s. I'm telling you, the whole record was unbelievably psychedelic, and he was blowing his brains out. And I found myself really drawn in because Because I think it drew me into that period of time that I loved listening to that style of music, right? It was the 70s or whatever, the early 70s, and I was so right back in there. Herbie Mann, Memphis Underground.
Yeah, I'll have to check for that.
Yeah.
I'll have to, yeah, well, here's the thing. Today, surprisingly enough, Valerie asked me something about Jimmy Dean.
Yeah.
Did I know anything about Jimmy Dean? I said, oh yeah, Big Bad John. Or no, she asked me about Big Bad John. Did I know who did that? I said, yeah, Jimmy Dean, before the sausage and all that stuff. She said, yeah, you're right. I said, Valerie, that record, like I know every word to that song. His speaking things. There was one about Little Grasshopper McLean, I think it was, and one song to a Sleeping Beauty, about like tucking his daughter in, like you go to bed tonight, there's no knowing how old you'll be when you wake up, how time passes so much. And tonight I kissed a Sleeping Beauty and I feel like a king. These story things were so instrumental in my life. I kind of forgotten about this record.
Oh.
And, 16 Ton is also on it, and 16 Ton was another one of those spoken things that I remember more from Tennessee Ernie Ford. That was a huge record for me as a little kid. I listened to those things over and over, and that drama of the speaking and the story backdrop just brought me in. And because of my early lifetime and my struggles as a kid, it resonated with me really deeply. It was really intimate to me. Or Bobby Gentry, Billy Joe.
Yeah.
Ode to Billy Joe.
Yeah, me too.
That stuff just hit me like, right between the eyes and right in the heart.
Yeah.
And so I found this Big Bad John. I played Valerie a couple cuts, and it's like, yeah, I had like, honest to God, 97% of the lyrics, like every word. And as I'm listening, I realized that in my life I had written a song to my kids that is so similar when they were little, and I really love the piece. I really do. I can't remember the title of it now, darn it. But it's a lovely backdrop, and I'm talking to them about how their mother and I, that they would never forget how much their mother and I love them.
Oh.
How Valerie would, she would do Care Bears. She would be this Care Bear story to them,
Uh-huh.
One day when you're old enough, you'll have your point of view. And remember, remember that your father did. We were once like you is the name of the song.
Oh God, that's really.
It's just a lovely little piece. And I realized, I said, Valerie, it's one of those things, how they say your body is always healing, even when you're not aware of it. And I found this, well, I'm really going off the tangent here, but in some therapy that I went through with some issues I was carrying, and where I thought that I had placed all my issues neatly wrapped in these boxes and got my emotions, I put them into songs, and there they are, sitting on a shelf. Yep, you don't control me, I control you. There you are, wrapped up. And little did I know they were still kind of controlling me. And my body and my emotions would vent these things out in songs that I wasn't even aware of. And the therapist is listening to stuff. It's like, you think that might be about your dad? It was like, yes, I do. So it shows me that your body, no matter what, it's always healing itself. Just like a cut, your body is always going to try to heal that. And your body is always trying to heal emotionally too, even without you knowing it. So, in general, how all these things, all these experiences become part of us, to where in my life, I'm writing this song to my kids, completely oblivious to Big Bad John, all that stuff that affected me. I'm not thinking, oh, I want to write something like that for my kids. Not in a million years. It just kind of came out because it's part of me.
Yeah.
Or say on our song, or your song that we did together, the Billy Joel tune, And So It Goes, that I wound up choosing, and I don't even admit to choosing, I hate to say it that way, like, oh, the Spirit said, but that's really kind of what it was, staying open to possibilities and trying all these different approaches to it. And then it kind of became evident, like, speaking it is is the best thing that I could offer to it, because I would have a hard time emoting musically in that way as long as things were the way I use my breath and everything is going to be. I wasn't going to get to a truth about it. I'd be able to do it, but it wouldn't have that connection with me. And speaking it felt like the most honest, perfect thing for me. And I don't know if I would have thought of that had it not been for these other experiences from a very, very early age, 7, 8, 9 years old, where these storytellers moved me so much to where now, I'm grateful for this acknowledgement. And it's nothing that I purposely, plan on. But most often people consider me to be a good storyteller. That in my emoting or whatever, in the way I sing songs, one of the things is that I get to the story, and it's like, wow, I'm so glad to hear that. But that stuff is stuck with me so much, with the songs. And I love, as a drummer, all that stuff. I love all the stuff that, but those storytelling things are really, really special. And they've manifested in ways I wasn't even aware of,
Yeah. So, and that's where your writing came out of it. That makes total sense, of course. Everything comes out of it, but the writing, when you so you wrote for, I'm just picking these guys because their names are big, Carl Perkins and the band. So the songs that you wrote for that they picked, well, first of all, did you write it with them in mind? And second of all, what were the stories about for each one?
So sometimes, but very rarely. Now this is when I was like pitching songs as a songwriter, and I had to deal with MCA for a while, but what I would say to the listeners, and that they probably know already, but for those that don't, in my case, it's always about relationships, and I think that's the thread of all the stuff. It's the relationships that you build. So even though MCA was in my corner and very, supportive of all that stuff, the way I got stuff out was through relationships with people that I know that said, oh man, Paul's got a song that would be great for that, or you're not even maybe looking for someone to pitch to, but there have been a couple times, like, because I got into writing some jingles, that I would start to think of, well, how would this person, and sometimes some people, I don't want to say lack of imagination, but they can't hear through the song to hear what they would sound like doing it. So you have to try and do it in a production and maybe with a singer that sort of sounds like them so that they can get it together. That's always a little bit of a drag, but it goes with the territory. A friend of mine, a wonderful writer and great supporter, and I agree with him 100% that a good song is a good song. If you could play it on just guitar and voice or piano and voice, a good song is a good song. Then wherever else it goes, whatever bag, however it's arranged, whatever, that's another thing. But a good song is a good song. Production's not going to make a good song. It'll be great. Production could stand on its own. That's what I was saying before. I might listen to stuff and say, wow, the recording was great, or the pocket was great. The song might stink, but or what I say conversely about a song like Shenandoah that I love, that song is so great that you can't kill it, no matter how it's done, no matter how it's sung, no matter, it could be spoken, it could be sung out of tune by the worst singer in the world. That song stands on its own. It's so fantastic. And just to digress for one more second, I'll get back to your question. This is how I go, But I did this version of Marie, this Randy Newman song that I love so much. And I did it at the Zinc Bar for this series that Janice Siegel, Lauren Kinnan, and the singer I was just talking about with you the other day. He did a duet with David. You know who I'm talking about.
Theo, or?
Yeah, Theo Bleckman.
Yeah.
So he was part of this, he was sitting in helping this thing at Zinc Bar. So I was the guest artist at this time. So I did this song by Randy Newman that I loved so much called Marie. It's just such a great song, and it's basically about him telling Marie that he realizes he's a screw up, he's messed up in all these ways, but that he loves her. And I find that so valuable. And when I do it for the public, I always say, It's true. I thought when I first heard it that he had written it specifically for me.
Yeah.
Because in any relationship, there's got to be ups and downs. If not, it's just a flat line coexistence, you know.
Yeah.
So I do this song, and it's just a great song. And when I get done, like everybody's like kind of like drawing an eye, you know, sighing and stuff. And Theo comes up and he says, "Man, that was one of the best readings I've ever heard in my life. I'm just moved to tears." I said, "Oh, Theo, I mean, I'm such a fan of this." I said, "Thank you so much." And I don't want to diminish that in any way, man, because anything you have good to say, boom, that's like a badge of honor to me. I really appreciate that. But don't you think, like when you have a song, when you have this great song that's so wonderful that it carries like 95% of the weight, all you have to do is pretty much stay out of the way, not try to make it be something? He said, "Yeah." He says, "Gosh, you know, I try to say that to my students, like everything is so filled with drama and all this stuff, like, you know,
Yeah.
or I would say like with David Mamet, there's the thing with him, like, you know, doing one of his plays, like saying to the actors, you know, if you would just stand there and say the lyric, it would serve the play so much better than all these, you know, things that you're doing, you know, just say the words, you know." So
You know, I love that, and I know we've veered off, but it doesn't matter. But because every place is good, but that is so true. But also, you have to. I mean, what you're speaking of is being achieving the ability to do that, to just deliver in truth, which that is one of the biggest challenges of an artist, right? And that's, I mean, that particular point is why one reason I love you and I love watching you perform. And when I look around the room, I see people stunned because you have achieved that ability, you know, and maybe in your mind it's not 100% of the time, but you have achieved that ability to deliver the truth and deliver your, you know, through, like, have you as yourself as a channel that the truth can go through. And that is, to me, one of the highest responsibilities of the artist, because we can friggin' change everything through that. No?
yeah, you know, that's why I think it's so important that when you pick your songs, that you pick something that relates to you in some way,
Yeah.
so that your truth does lie in that story that you're trying to tell. And I also say, look, if there's some song that you just happen to love, and maybe it doesn't connect with an actual experience in your life, then create a backstory. You know, create this story that you can relate to. The same way that actors create backstories into the roles that they play. They often bring in other things about this character that they're doing that maybe in their world, I think this guy has a limp. Why does he have a limp? He has a limp because he was on a boat catching crab or something, and he got into a fight with this guy, and they got in fights because their fathers always fought with each other about who had the rights to something, and blah blah blah. So they've got this thing, and then, you know, the director's like, "Well, why do you have a limp?" It's like, well, it goes with my character. And like, everything isn't always on the paper about what
Right.
you do. So what I'm saying there is that you can kind of create your own truth, but you make it be real. I mean, it's something that you latch onto. And I think that that's true, that when you can find the truth in that, then you just kind of want to tell the story and you want to stay open for people to put themselves into it. That's really what we want to do, I believe, as artists, is that we want to vibrate those chords that we share, so that maybe you feel something in the same story that I'm telling. That, you know, like what they say with comedians, a lot of really wonderful comedians come from really hard knocks, and they get their stuff out through comedy. And it's those things that we listen to, we say, "Oh yeah, geez, I had the same thing. Yeah, that's so funny." It relates to us in these human, organic ways. That's not like written funny. It's like life funny. It's grounded in organics kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I mean, thanks, man. On the storytelling stuff, yeah, and that's why you know, you try and pick songs that have some sort of thing in your life that you can relate to, that then you tell the story from your perspective, and not everybody's going to have the same story. That's why I think it was Dylan or somebody would, you know, ask about what did this song mean. pretty sure it was Dylan, and him saying, I don't ever want to tell somebody what my song means. It's up to the person to decide what my song means, you know?
Yeah.
Or looking at some painting, you know, what did you mean by that? It's like, well, what do you see? You know, it's a little bit more like that. But hopefully there's enough there intriguing you to say, you know, I'm into this painting, you know, I'm into this song, or I feel these certain things. Did you mean for it to be that? Did you mean for it to be that? It's whatever you take from it. But the thing is that we want, you know, we talk about this sometimes, like when somebody's doing reviews of our work.
Yeah.
The only thing I care about is knowing that someone actually listened.
Yeah.
Then after they listen, I won't argue with your honesty. I'll embrace your honesty, even if you don't like what I do. You think, I don't like him on this. I didn't like him. I thought he's oversang this, or I don't like his scatting on this. I don't like the arrangement of that. That's fine, man, as long as I know that you listen, because then it has some weight with me. And I appreciate it, you know? It's not that mean I'm going to change anything. I'm just still going to do me. But it has a lot more weight to me than when I read like reconstituted things where somebody's taken a sentence from this, they've taken a paragraph from that. It's like, I've written, It's like you've created an opinion. You never really actually listen to this stuff. And, you know, so who cares to hear your opinion? You know, it's invalid to me. It's not what you say, you know. It's like we were talking, you know, about Christmas and stuff. It's never the gift. It is never the gift. It's always about the thought. It's always about the thought that goes with the gift. It doesn't matter the quality, how much you spent, or any of that crap, you know.
Yeah.
And same with reviews or anything. Doesn't matter about how great a writer you are. You know, just listen to it. Just know you listen to it, and you can slam it or whatever. You know, I'm for all that stuff. You know.
I would like to play something. Okay.
Yes, and I didn't forget your question about the songs and what they meant, all that stuff. So I can always go back to that. So.
Oh no, you can't. No, sir. Sorry, I didn't actually mean that, but I was just, just joking.
I didn't think I forgot. You know.
Yeah, actually, I would like to. This is the newest record, While We Were Gone. Let's talk about that a little bit. And then I want to do one of the songs, whichever one you'd rather me play. But yeah, maybe everybody's talking, or I don't know.
Okay.
But tell us about this record. I won't play it yet. I'll just show the beautiful picture. I love the cover. This is the cover.
Yeah, so let me just say these pictures on the cover are taken by this great photographer, Chris Drucker, who I just love. This one was the color. There's a color someplace, maybe in the one sheet, but it's really like a kind of a hot red background. And I forget what the store was. It was a sale or something like that. Chris has this ability to, like, he just sees the world in these other ways that, you know, I totally trust him, whatever he says. Where I might say, how about let's do one like walking in the subway with me carrying my clothes, man, like, you know, the artist on the journey through the big city. It's like, yeah, that's nice, but look, let's do this, you know, and we'll go walk on the street, and he'll just say, hey, wait, stop right there, go stand up in front of it, stand in front of that. And then I see these ways that he interprets stuff that's like, oh man, this particular picture, sorry to go off on this, but I love this picture so much, and so does Andrew Reed, who designed this CD.
Yeah.
Because I like that I look a little haggard, you know, maybe I've been up for a couple of days, like it looks like really real. It doesn't look like a pose shot where, not even pose, but, you know, where you look clean and handsome kind of thing at your best. I like that I look a little bit ragged on this, you know. And it's just one of my favorites, you know, it's one of Andrew's too. A lot of people, you know, agents, whatever, they would say, nope, you got to go with something that, you know, you look a little too raw here. But I really like this photo. He did such a great job.
Yeah. And While We Were Gone, what song is that? Well,
it's no song. It's the title of the album. And so the album is... I actually was going to release this 2 albums. There's one that's called Poetic Justice, and one that's called An Appeal for Reason.
Right.
And and then overall, the whole body is called While We Were Gone. So,
Oh, I see. So there's a trailer. I see. I was just,
yes.
because
So had
I didn't remember that the title.
Yes, had I released this originally as 2 separate albums, it would have been While We Were Gone, Volume 1, Poetic Justice,
Yeah.
While We Were Gone, Volume 2, An Appeal for Reason.
Yeah.
And I made up maybe just 100 copies of it to send out for reviews or maybe at radio play or something. But then fantastic Dan DeVilla suggested you should release this as a double CD, and God, he supported it. So we put it together as one double CD, and it has this picture in front, and it's essentially like all through COVID, no one had any place to play. None of us had any place to play. There
Yeah.
was a safe place to play.
Right.
But Jimmy Greenfield, who is a fantastic artist and has this studio in Brooklyn, he was doing live streams from his place, Soapbox Gallery. And so for 1 hour a month, the 4 of us, my quartet, could meet there and play in a safe environment. We would have our masks, except for me. And so over the course of maybe a year or so, something like that, I didn't even realize they were recording this stuff, like had the stems, but they did in some cases. So I went through and made up these 2 albums of live performances there. And I'm so happy with it because it's totally real. And that's not to say I love it, mistakes and all, because I don't hear a whole lot of mistakes in anything. It's just it's what we sound like live. There's no fixing. You can't fix anything. You can't auto tune. You can't move a bass note or a bass drum, or you can't do any editing like that. It is what it is. And a dear friend of mine, Jim Tullio out in Chicago, remixed everything from the tracks that we had. And just to say, when you have stuff like that, because it's not done as like a recording with the initial idea, there's not isolation on everything. There's leakage all over the place. So to do a remix, you might have bass leaking into the bass drum, and if you bring this up, it affects that thing over there. So it's this kind of puzzle to make things sound, you know. And he did a tremendous job, and I think there's 27 or 23 or 24 tracks altogether. And I think I remixed 4 of them, and he did 20 of them or something. And he just did a great job. I'm really happy with the product, and we've gotten some really lovely reviews I'm so happy about,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's listen at least. I don't know if I'll listen to the whole 8 minutes, but let's listen to some of this one.
Okay.
Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they say. Only the echoes of my mind. People stop and stare. I don't see their faces, only the shadows of their eyes. I'm going where the sun keeps shining through the pouring rain. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. Banking off the northeast wind, sailing on summer breeze, skipping over the ocean like a storm.
Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind, of my mind, of my mind, my mind. People stop and stare. I don't see their faces, only the shadows of their eyes. I'm going where the sun keeps shining through the pouring rain. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. Backing off the northeast wind, sailing on the summer breeze, and skipping over the ocean like a stone.
talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind. Of my mind. Of my mind. Of my mind.
Holy moly.
Yeah, well. Yeah, thanks for playing that.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, I love it too. It was a gift, you know, to get to that. That's what I was saying before, you know, staying open to possibilities. You
Yeah.
know? And so I didn't sit down ever with the idea like, oh, this would be a good idea. It's after you read the words and then something hits you about, you know, what if this was about someone's own unraveling? What if this was about like dementia, or what that must feel like? What's that journey like? And that became my catalyst. That was my, you know, that was my storyline. And I'm so glad it happened, because it's definitely one of the most powerful things I've ever written. It affects me every time I play it. I can't always get through it because, you know, like I never know like where I have certain things I'm always going to do for the song, but I'm never sure where I might speak something or might not. Everything is open, whatever kind of happens. And that journey of, I don't want to say brilliance, but that journey of where stuff is like really, yeah, that's pretty happening. Then it's like it starts to unravel. Like, where's that going? And that's kind of got to be like what I think what it must feel like, at least in my imagination, if, you know, like one day you just realize like, well, I can't sing a major third. I don't know, where is that? What is a major, like when things that were always so accessible that you spent your whole life developing and working on suddenly become this elusive vapor-like thing that you can't touch and you can't manipulate anymore. It's like you no longer have power with it. It must be just so threatening. And so that was my journey with this thing. And look, I'm going to be honest here too. You know, the other night we were talking, I think, about the Kennedy Awards, and you know, I was watching Joni Mitchell, and there was this beautiful version of Clouds. You know, and watching her, and I think if I were Joni Mitchell, I might have leaned to the person next to me and said, you know, it's a pretty damn good song. You know, even she would have to admit, that's a damn good piece of work, you know? And I think that's okay to do as an artist. I mean, I'm doing this publicly with you, so it's a little, you know, but I tell students that too, or anybody that studies, like it's okay to pat yourself on the back once in a while, to look at your work and say, yeah, that was a good piece of work. And also, because usually we're saying, that stunk, oh, I gotta fix that, oh, what was I thinking there? But it's okay once in a while to say, hey, that's as good as I could do. I hit the marks of what I was aiming at. Whether it hits anyone else's marks, I hope it does. And believe me when I say, when I do this song live, I am almost always met, in fact, I would say always met, with people that come up and say that, you know, I'm so glad that you did this. It really captured what we went through with my uncle, my father, whatever. They relate their stories to me, and that's when I really, really feel the power of music. It's not just the scales and the notes and the harmony and all that. That's all important to paint the picture. But the thing that, you know, that we can connect, that this vehicle, this art form can connect on such powerful, visceral ways is incredible. It just feels, it's just so beautiful to be able to do that, you know. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be part of that. And one last thing about like the art, that version for me would be one of the most important things. If I was, if you were going to put my work in a capsule, I hope that would be one of the pieces that you say, oh well, he did that. And here's another thing, here's like 6 or 7 things he might, this is part of his vapor trail. But that's a piece that it'll never make the airwaves. It'll never be played anyplace. Like so much art in our world is, not just for poor old Paul Jost, but how many great artists are there doing such great works, maybe some transformative things that might have a real effect in our lives that are never going to see the airwaves. It's never going to get out there other than in live performance. And how do you get people to live performance? And you still keep plugging away and hello, come and check it out, and look at the players that are Jim Riddle, Dean Johnson, Tim Horner. I always say that we paint the pictures together, and
Yeah.
Everybody grabs a brush, and it's beautiful the work that they did on this and everything that we do together. But so much stuff is just never going to see the light of day, and there's so much stuff out there. But that should never dissuade you from following your art. You don't go about it like, well, I hope this sells 1 million records, or I hope this does that. You like we were talking about reviews or whatever. No one's ever going to criticize your stuff or be more than you. No one's going to hit your stuff harder than you are yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. It keeps you pushing forward. That when you want to keep getting better and hitting those deeper marks or going places that are, well, it's not ever going to get heard, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it because it just feels right. And
That's it. I wrote down what, just kind of an overview of what this show is about. And it's the process of living life as an artist. Why do we do it? I mean, of course, there's endless conversations about it. Why do we do it? Mostly, why do we do it? Why do we do it? Why do we keep doing it? And it's because of what you just said, it's just your calling, your job. It's somewhere deep inside, you just know that this is what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to touch people with it, right?
yeah, I think it first comes where you're affected by the music, where music first touches you, whatever age that you come to it,
Yeah.
that it affects you. And then hopefully you're able to stay with it, go through your learning process, which never stops. But all the stuff where you want to play as fast as you can, show off all your wear and everything. But at some point where it becomes, like Bobby Scott would tell me, just the ripest fruit from the tree. That's what you want to grab. All the other stuff, and then that you're able to make that stuff translate. That's the real beauty, And why do you do it? It's because you have to do it. It's not like, that's what try to impart on students too. Like yo, yo.
He's agreeing with you. Rah!
Now we're in Jersey. Like when you're picking these things that you want to do, like your semesters or your year might be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to do this, and that's great, and explore it, and but it's got to be something that you really want to do, because there's a lot of people out there, they're doing it because they have to do it. They're just drawn to it, and that thing where mother invention is the point. What is it?
Invention. Wait, that is the mother of invention. Something.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention.
Oh yeah, necessity.
And you'll find a way to do it if it's something. If it's part, you'll find a way to do it with a $40,000, $60,000, price tag or zero. You'll find a way to get your stuff out there. So the people that are spending, or their parents are spending the $60,000 a year, man, buckle down. Do your stuff, I'm not going to say SHIT. Do your stuff, do your homework, and if you really feel in your heart, I don't know that this is for me, then bail, save them the money, save yourself the time, find what your calling is, and it could be plumbing, that you love plumbing. I love working with copper and lead and running pipes in a certain way. I love the architecture. Do that, man. There's nothing like non-artistic or about that,
Yeah, right. Hey, I just want to say, first of all, I'm going to play our cut together, but I also want to tell you that Dan is here, of course. Toby Simmons, who you haven't met, Roland Ascaruns, I'm pretty sure you met him when you were here. Lisa Rich is here.
Oh, Lisa, love Lisa.
Sydney Jacobs, who I can't remember if Sydney was in a workshop of yours. He's a really great singer. He joined. Oh gosh, Sydney, I forget the name of the group. Strange. It's a group. Up and away. Who?
Oh, Fifth Dimension.
Yeah, he joined Fifth Dimension. See, I could remember the song and not the name.
Yeah.
Anyway, he joined Fifth Dimension a while ago.
Does he know Ron Foyer Jr.? Can you ask him if he knows Ron Foyer Jr.?
I think he does. He's definitely here, so he'll answer in a second.
Oh, in fact, Ron came, I think, to the first time that Jim and I came out.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Ron
he
dad
said.
very well.
He said yes. He's a really and senior. He said.
Yeah.
Sydney is a really gorgeous singer, and he. I don't know if he's still super working on his personal arranging and composition path, but he was. And he's just he's a really warm human and a really talented singer. And let's see, Joyce Glasgow is here. She loves, people are complimenting you all over the place. Tanya Grubbs.
Oh, Tanya, Miss Tanya, miss everybody.
Judy Barrett, and then I'm going to play this cut that Paul and I did that Paul talked about as far as when he first heard this tune, when I sent it to him with the instrumentation and me singing, and he sent it back to me with this, and I just about dropped dead. I was like, what? Oh my God. Yes. So here it is. And so it goes. This is from my album, Social Anthems, Volume 1.
A sanctuary safe and strong to heal the wounds from lovers' past until a new one comes along.
I spoke to you in cautious tones. You answered me with no pretense. And still, I feel I said too much. My silence is my self-defense. And every time I've held a rose,
it seems I only felt the thorns.
and
so it goes.
And so it goes, and so it goes,
And so it goes.
and so will you soon,
And so will you.
I suppose.
I suppose. But if my silence made you leave, then that would be my worst mistake. So I will share this room with you. And you can have this heart to break.
And this is why my eyes are closed. It's just as well for all I've seen.
And so it goes.
And so it goes, and so it goes,
So it goes.
and you're the only one who knows.
So I would choose to be with you. That's if the choice were mine to make.
But you can make decisions too, and you can have this heart to break.
And so it goes.
And so it goes, and so it goes.
And you're the only one who knows.
All right.
I haven't heard that in a while or seen it.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. You sound so beautiful on that. The guys just play so incredibly.
Thanks. I just I really like this song, and I like the movie. I mean, you know, on the one hand, it's like it's a lot of this emotion to soak in, but just watching it, I know everyone feels these emotions. They're very somber, very intimate, right? And I love touching that in my creative expression. There's why, I'm not sure why. I mean, I've definitely been in that emotion in my life, when I was younger, and I felt so much grief and pain around that emotion, just like for long periods of time. And maybe that's why. Maybe I want to heal that, through my own touching it, and heal it for other people too. I don't know. But the combination of you speaking and me singing, and then the pictures and the musicians, it's just really effective in that way.
I love I love getting emotionally naked.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like akin to lying on your back, leaving your belly exposed, and have at it, I like the safety that you might feel like you close your eyes and you fall backward and you'll be caught. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like opening yourself to this human loss or lose this human feeling, and that you're all going to share that. I love the video that's put together, but my most wonderful times listening to this, as we were listening to mixes and all this stuff, was I would just put the headphones on and go for a walk, and it would always just transport me to these really beautiful places, some sad, some beautiful, but all kind of mixed as this real thing, and Larry just plays so beautiful on it. You sound so sweet, and I just love the way the story unfolds. And there's another one of those, and I'm sure I told you when I sent the spoken thing, this is one that'll probably never get airplay. And there's
Very rare,
yeah. People might hate it. Some might say, "Oh, this is the best thing I've ever heard." Some might say, "Oh, it's the worst thing I've ever heard." Personally, I don't care. It just feels like another one of those truthful moments to me that I'm just glad to be part of. I'm just glad I had the opportunity to be part of something like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of sorry, listening and looking at comments. Very nice. Lots of nice comments about that.
That's beautiful.
And then on my new recording, I'm going to have Paul and David both do a few songs with me. So
That's a lovely record.
I'm looking forward to that too. And I just started, guess what? I started listening to the stems yesterday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so hallelujah.
I can't wait to dive into that.
Yeah. Really cool. I love the process. And I'm not telling you anything new or different, but I just love the process of first you're thinking about something you want to do. We get into a recording that you have to work on and fix, and you might have a back off at some point on it, for whatever reason. And then you overcome that hump and you start, and then you might on the first time through, you might not know what to do, or really like a certain part or really not like a certain part. And then that first time through is done. And then you put it on again. And then there's something else that you come up and you go, oh, hey, I could blah, da, 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 and then you try that. I really love that process. I think that process, I'm certainly not the only one who's ever talked about process in that nature. Both you and I can say that. This is a common conversation between all artists, because the process is what is so alluring and addicting, right?
Yeah, it's I guess it's the ultimate drug. The thing that has always enthralled me is that thing of the blank canvas. At a younger age, when you think you have so much to say, or you might actually, realize that maybe you have some stuff to say, but your fight is more about the freedom to say it. I want the freedom. People are always telling me what to do. It's got to fit into this mold. It's got to be that. It's got to be this. I just want to do my own thing. Blah blah blah. Well, with freedom, when you have that blank canvas, whew, now it's like, okay, so now what do you want to do? It's a blank canvas. Whatever you want to do, what are you going to put on it? And you can start off with like, it's like, yeah. So what do you want to do, man? You've been bitching about it, like. So and I know in my own case, like with my studio, I really designed it that it's. I've done a lot of stuff down there, but it's really was set for me, and I would go down and write every day. My discipline was very strong.
Yeah.
And I would go write every day. And my system was set up that I hit a button and everything came on. And the system was immediately saying to me, what do you want to do, Paul? Here, everything works. Everything works. It's all lined up. You got all your sounds, got all your everything's wired. What are you going to do? And man, that's really a beautiful thing when freedom is a powerful thing. I think we take it for just becomes a word sometimes, and we don't have the the responsibility to really value it, and in all the ways, not just artistically, but in our world, the people that have given their lives to causes to bring freedom, to see it so squandered and thought so little of, where sometimes it feels like even the value of life now has become so inconsequential. It's just life, as opposed to it's life, like that you can wake up every morning, that you have, we have air, and water, like the two things that make our survival the most guaranteed, that we're brought in abundance to this planet, air and water. What are the two things that we first destroy? Are air and water. Let's destroy the things that give us the best shot of survival, I'll get into a whole other thing about that, but just the thing about freedom, it's something really to be valued and treasured, and that you bring your best to it,
Yeah, one of the books I'm reading right now is Chief Seattle's speech. Have you ever been into Chief Seattle? I have not.
No.
Okay, so Chief Seattle is who Seattle's named after. The Indians lived in that area for 10,000 years before the white man came. And now this is my perspective of reading his speech, but to me, he seems like a senior spiritual human, like somebody who's up here at the top level and able to look down at everything with a a high level of love for humanity and a very real perspective of what is going on without judgment. Apparently this was not the only speech he ever made. So many people saw him as like that. So I don't think, it wasn't like, oh, he just molded the speech to sound good or for whatever purpose. But it was really very interesting. He was basically saying that before the white man came, the Indian tribes and nations were already spiraling downward because they stopped appreciating. This is why I started talking about this. They stopped appreciating what was here on the planet, and the whole very sincere, earthy Indian appreciation of life and the planet and Mother Earth and all of that. So they started not appreciating that, not thinking life was about that, but they started getting greedy and kind of commercial, greedy, warring, and and then the white man showed up, and the white man basically had his own god.
Yeah. Let us show you how to do. We got this down.
Yeah.
We could teach you.
Exactly. And so they were moving in, and they actually removed the Indians from part of Washington and moved them. I think they moved them on to Puget Sound. And what Chief Seattle was just observing the whole thing, and he actually kind of verbalized appreciation for the white man, and just observation that the white man's God was, a different God, but must be successful because, it's happening for them right now. It was just so interesting, and very interesting about that he saw how the Indian nation had changed, before the white man got there. And just, it's always good to hear some spiritual high level senior, their point of view of reality. The good, the bad is everything. It's all life. It's not just, we're not just going for the good. It's just everything is part of the tapestry of life. And, how there's appreciation for everything, and it's just life. It's just moving on,
That's so true. Yeah, I mean, they both live hand in hand, and I'm sure, So I mean, for me, I still embrace that life is good.
Yeah.
That it's a good planet. That I want to lean more on that side belief, and I know there's opinions about both, and things that could support either side. But my choice is to believe that good prevails. So that's where I come from. And like I would espouse things like that as an artist. Like it's your responsibility when you come in this world to find out what gifts you have that you've been blessed with. And once you find them, you have to look for them. Once you find them, then it's your duty to expand on them. It's your responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
But, I'm saying that to people that have options in their lives, right? So I've known for a long time, not always, but for a long time, that if I were born white, male, and in America, that the deck is so stacked in my favor, even when I'm going through my pain and sorrow, as every human being will go through, things are still stacked in my favor. I have 3 aces out of 4. I've got 3 just waking up on the planet in America, white and a male. I've got 3 big cards, So it makes it even more imperative that you fulfill positive things. And what I'm saying about like options is that the reality, it might be good on paper to say those things, and I believe those things if you have options. That's the key, because in many parts of the world, including in America, there are 0 options. Your goals for the day are to find housing, to find food, to not be taken by whatever power is running your world right now, who may come and cut off an arm because the wife took a piece of bread to feed the family, or your conditions are so grave that, talk about options, what you're going to do artistically. Oh my God, man, So, and there's all kinds of things that stop that, all kinds of oppression and racism that could put blocks on your fruition or ability to be fruitful. But if you have those options, if you wake up every morning and you find yourself in a world with options,
yeah,
you have to act on it. You just can't say, well, I think I'm going to watch TV today, or I think I'm not, man, you got to, and it feels great. Like, you say, the older you get, whatever it is, I mean, music still feels like, wow, how, this is a gift that keeps on giving. How am I still enjoying this so much. Oh my God, it's, do I deserve this? Or, and, you work at it, but you recognize your gifts and you do your best. And you reap the rewards too. Yeah, I really feel like, so again, like I'm trying to put like a little bit of narrow this a little bit, but, and how I feel that the world is ultimately good. I think for the most part, again, where there's options, that most of us, we hear what's right and wrong. And like what I see in the politics now is like, or in the world at large, but in our politics, and in the world at large, because it's spreading all around, where people have given in to their common sense. Where at one time, and there's always been good and evil, but there's been, for a lot, that we would agree, does 2 and 2 equal 4? And the answer would be overwhelmingly, no matter your political affiliation, anything, that yes, 2 and 2 equals 4. There's no debating that. Now it seems to come under question that maybe 2 and 2 doesn't equal 4. Why? Well, because there's a whole contingency that says it equals 5. Yeah, I can see where it equals 5. I mean, like we're moving away from like what resonates. And I think at some point, and I hope that when we come to terms with this, that a lot of us would wind up saying like, I knew I was wrong for believing that. I knew that. I'm sorry. I got to change some of this. That was really stupid of me. I don't know what possessed me. I know what possessed me. It was the greed and the hunger for power, and I turned my back on it. But there was always that little voice that said, "That's not right. That's not right. 2 and 2 equals 4. You know why you're wet? Because it's raining outside. Somebody tells you the sun's shining, but you're wet because it's raining. Look at the raindrops." Like how smart do you have to be? We talk about this sometimes. I talk about it with other people. It's like so hard to like just wrap your head around like how is it possible? And I promise we'll get off of this, but say with the insurrection, and then like Democrats, Republicans alike, they realize the threat of it, and they're all saying, within 24 hours, this is terrible, this is the wrong thing. Yeah, it's the wrong thing. It's like unbelievable. It is flat out wrong. It's not left, it's not right, it's not liberal, it's not Democrat, it's not even, it's wrong. You can't do that. You can't have this insurrection. That is wrong, right? We all agree to that. Yeah. And then like a week later, it's like, if you look at, it's like kind of any day when people come to visit, it's like, what? I mean, who believes that? Who believes in your time in America, who believes that would be like any time? Have you ever seen that on the news? Have you ever seen it in the paper? Do you really accept that as the truth? You hear all these things that are just like thrown out, like that doesn't resonate in your head that that's a lie, The person saying it and the person hearing it that's saying, yeah, I'm going to, people that have books that espouse all these beliefs and everything, and now they change them around because they fear political power is going to be usurped. It's amazing to me, but I think, and I hope, and I feel almost, I want to say I feel 100% certain, and I hope I'm right, that when your time comes, when you're ready to cross over, that there's going to be that thing that's going to go off and it's like, yeah, I knew that was wrong. I knew that racism was wrong. I knew that like putting down their people was wrong. I knew that. I hope it all comes. I just wish it would come while we're still awake.
Me too, man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Joyce says, "What is reality?" Yes. Yeah. Lots of cool comments here. And I wanted to ask you. I wanted to play something that you want me to play, something maybe just beautiful, like a ballad or something. And but I also wanted to ask you before, what was I'm sure there was more than one, just like me, but what was a piece of advice that you got, musically speaking, or not necessarily music advice, but within the realm of performance and creativity? Was there a piece of advice that you always remembered that you got from somebody?
Well, one thing that I said earlier that Bobby Scott had told me about, always picking the ripest fruit.
Yeah.
And, that really resonates. It's like, look for the ripest fruit that's there. You know, like the other stuff is superfluous. You know, it doesn't mean you can't play a lot of notes, you can't have a lot of harmony. That's all great, but make them be the ripest choices. You know, don't do anything just to do it for,
Yeah.
you know, don't be agenda driven.
Yeah.
Don't let your ego usurp what the music is really about. It's not about you. And now, you know, I'm going to say this because I always use Jim Riddle as, you know, one of my greatest examples of someone who has as much facility, you know, technique and harmonic awareness and creativity as much as anyone I've ever met in my life. I'm so honored to play with him. And the example I use is that Jim is always like the first one to stop playing, to leave space for other things to happen. And it's only because he's thinking architecturally. He's thinking about the music. The music comes first. It's not about, damn it, I worked on this exercise for 16 hours this week and you're going to hear it no matter what. I mean, it has nothing to do with agenda. It has to do with the music. And his expertise and beauty and what he brings will always shine through. The truth always comes through. You know, to digress for 1 second, you know, I was in Poetic Justice. I had this piece I wrote. Poetic Justice is like this little suite of like 4 pieces.
Yeah.
And one is this spoken thing called Lies of Convenience. What I was talking about before, things that we accept, it's always a path to like the wrong thing, you know. There's a piece there, it's just a short thing that is dedicated to George Floyd. It's not just George Floyd, but any people or whatever, whenever things are suppressed, they always wind up, the truth will always rise. It will always come back. It might be a long time, and we may be uncomfortable with the truth as it emerges. But the truth will, it's like when you try to squash down, it's like trying to squash mercury. You know, mercury kind of like, it spreads, it gets out. You know, it's like, yeah, you can't get it. And you may think that you're squashing stuff by, you know, killing someone like George Floyd publicly in front of the whole world to see. But you didn't squash that. It made more rise, you know. And so, not sure why I got into that, but about you know, having stuff be truthful. You know, what I was told, the ripest fruit, and not doing things with an agenda, trying to let things be so that things are truthful in what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to know it. And try.
Let's see. I'm going to Paul Jost. So, can we hear a beautiful ballad?
Well, listen, I would like to ask you if you can find, it should be on my channel, it's a song called, what is it called? Enough to Believe In. This is like a sample of, say, like my sort of quasi-country writing.
Uh-huh.
But I love this song. And it's all my gigs, like, you know, as a singer, you know, songwriter, then I wasn't really out performing it. I would write these tracks, you know, and play all the parts and stuff to create my demos. So this is one of those. But I like this storyline that, I mean, there's religious. I'm not an overtly religious person at all. Neither was my father, my stepdad, who I still call my father, who's passed away. But he was a good steward in, like, right or wrong, in my opinion, you know. So this is a song that kind of talks a little bit about that. I have some songs that are that way, but they're not like hammer over the head. I'm never telling anybody you should follow this, follow that, you know, a Catholic, Protestant. It doesn't. It's your own relationships. Again, life is about relationships. But if you can find the song, I like it.
This is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Swinging on the porch to the music of the night, I see the work of love as I face the western sky. any wonder why I got enough to believe in. I got the world within my arms, enough to believe in. I know the love within your heart all the time. Breathing mountain air's all I need to get me high. You say a prayer for me and it's enough to make me cry. I got enough to believe in. I got a world with all its charms, enough to believe in. I know the faith inside my heart all the time. And darling, written in the book, love and faith are never overlooked. And that's enough to believe in. Sound is my favorite tune. Heaven sure knows how to write a song. All it needs is a voice to sing along, with enough to believe in. And when the time has come and you lay me down to rest, will not cry for me, 'cause you know I passed the test. I knew enough to believe in the world and all its charms, enough to believe in faith inside my heart all the time. And darling, written in the book, you know love and faith are never overlooked. That's enough to believe in.
Wow, very nice song.
Thanks
And
for
yeah, Joyce said you sound really different. Yes, he does sound really different doing that style.
It was a long time. I think that was around 1990 or somewhere in that range, somewhere between, I don't know, 89 and 93 or something, somewhere there. So it's 20 some years ago.
Yeah. Dan is saying that he loves you doing the Randy Newman songs on the new record.
Oh, thank you, Dan. I love Randy Newman.
And another thing that struck me is the power of a singer in the band not singing and leaving space. It's powerful because what it does is it creates the magical space.
Yeah, in mentioning Randy Newman, like I've noticed over the years in different songs, like he may change a word one time, like sing it the same way twice, and then the third time it's left out, and it kind of makes you hear the word without him saying it, you know, or might bring a different meaning to the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that thing. Or like with Mark Murphy, you know, I always say I've had the thrill and the honor to play drums for him a few times, and sheepishly, you know, embarrassingly say I didn't really know who he was when I played with him. I'd heard about him, but he wasn't part of my landscape. But it only took about 8 bars to hear what an extraordinary talent he was, and you know, his skill as a musician was, you know, incredible and infectious. But I think the thing I learned most from him was or took away from him, was his storytelling, and how he too would kind of reshape things that had his own stamp on it. And I just loved that, you know. You know, sometimes you hear people do things that it's like, am I allowed to do that? Can I do that? You know, yeah, you can do that. And I feel like with my songs, you know, I do these different arrangements, you know, like the thing you played before, Everybody's Talking at Me. You know, I do, not all the time, but I usually take stuff and I reimagine it or rework it into ways that means something for me. And it might be taking something that's normally seen as this positive thing and turning it dark, or dark to bright, or whatever, but making it what, you know. And I've had, like, say there's been like a review or two saying that, you know, that I would change the melody and this or that. Not that I wouldn't, but in many cases, no, I haven't changed one word. I haven't changed one, you know, yes, I've changed the harmony, but that's always done. So no, the melody is the same, and, you know, you could, but, you know, you see, like, you know, oh, am I allowed to do that? It's like, yeah, man, you could do what you want. And personally, I feel like on my songs, I don't care. I want anyone to have carte blanche to reinterpret anything that they want. If somebody took that song, Enough to Believe In, and did a twisted version that was kind of sardonic or sarcastic, that like poking fun at Enough to Believe In, like I was wrong to have Enough to Believe In.
Yeah.
Who said, you know, I say, hey man, that was interesting, that was great, and where's my royalty check? No, I'm kidding. I just partially kidding, you know, because we all have to survive. But I want an artist to have carte blanche, man. You do it any way that you want to do it.
Yeah. You know, this record, my friend Phil Strange and I, you know, who traveled a lot for years together in Japan, especially, and we made 2 records together. And this one record, it was a duo. After we had been on the road for a month, we went directly to the studio. And, you know, Phil spent a lot of time in Japan, and he really didn't like to be pigeonholed, which of course he was pigeonholed, you know, he was a white American jazz player in Japan. And so standards, he always did standards, and really he tried to take them way out, you know. So we did this version of Misty. I think I shared that with you years ago when we first talked. That was really out, you know, and it had this kind of a hip-hop-ish beat. And boy, I got a lot of comments on that. Yes, yay and nay, man. People, you know, they couldn't wrap their heads around me doing Misty like that, you know. But it was, me, I'd been listening to Misty since I was born, you know, and singing it for years and years. And that's what happened. It just transpired, especially with Phil, you know. So,
well, I think, again, if you're doing it honestly, you know, coming from an honest spot, then that's the most that you could hope for. And if you heard it as a hip hop thing and were having fun with it, and that really, you know, resonated with you, that's wonderful. I was commissioned to do, you know, reimagining, reworking, rearranging of Springsteen's iconic album, Born to Run, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And so I took the commission, and I didn't really, of course, you know, I know, especially in Jersey, everybody knows of Sinatra and Springsteen, you know, we genuflected their names, but I didn't have like his records. I wasn't like a real super fan. Nothing wrong with him. He just wasn't on my playlist that much. But so I got into it, and man, what a great lyricist! You know, I really grabbed. You know, I really came to really like him a lot. And so I did these jazz versions of that album, and I think there was 8 tunes on it, and I did 3. Barry Miles, my friend, he did 3. I asked him if he would do 3. We did 1 together and 1 we left alone. And they're departures, but they aren't science projects where you're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
is he doing Backstreets? No, it's definitely Backstreets, but it's definitely not like a cover band. There's elements so that you would hear his strong lick or something that's in there, but harmonically it's open. But the melodies, it's wrapped very, it's in respect to Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
But it's not like, but it's in respect to what our art is too. And I remember first time doing it, I was scared to death because, he has such rabid fans. He's got billions of fans, And it's like, oh my God, I just hope to God people aren't throwing shit at me and saying, get off, you fraud. It's sacrilegious to do this to Springsteen's music. How dare you, It was the exact opposite, man. It was after the first song, and I heard the applause. It was like, oh my God, they like it. They like it. Oh, and I did the next one. They liked it, and it really met great, support. And I was really glad for that. They heard what was being done, and I'm still hoping to get the record out. We did a live recording at in New York at the Bitter End, which came out really nice. But we want to get in the studio, and there's a bunch of different things about making that happen. I'm really proud of the project. It really. All these things since then, with anniversaries and plays and all these things that he's doing, that I still want to get it out there. It's a beautiful, and another thing like this project I just did now, just about different voices and everything. So I did this thing with Jim Riddle recently, where we're paying homage to Tony Bennett and Bill Evans and their great work together. And we just put together a 60-minute program for Soapbox, and I want to explore that more, but it's so wonderful. And I took some of their arrangements, which were great, and then some I did my own thing on, but it's all honoring that. Of course, Jim has the same beauty, and Bill Evans, but he has his own thing. We both have our own thing, but it's for me, stylistically, it's putting my voice in a different place, and it's not about scatting or that sort of thing. It's a different, clear kind of approach. Jim's thing, it's not like angular. It's meeting this other thing, but still very artful, I think. I know it's very honest, and I'm so happy with that, and want to do that project too. And it's great just finding these different things where you can invest your heart and your art, and explore those things. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether it's misty, hip hop, whatever it is, you hear it and you feel it. Then
Yeah. Dina DeRose is here, and she said,
Dina DeRose. Oh, don't make me go crazy here, because I love Dina DeRose. Man, I know this isn't true at all, but I feel like I'm the first one, at least in my circle. And sorry, Dina, because you should be that everybody knows you. But I think I was the first in my circle, or second, to discover Dina DeRose and say, man, you gotta hear her. Oh my God. She sings so great. She plays so great, such great arrangements. Man, who is it? Dina DeRose. Dina DeRose. And everybody knew, I'm missing her name. She's a wonderful pianist and singer too, but she come to like national prominence. And it seemed like Dina was like, she was in the underground, Love them both.
Yeah.
But I just love her so much. And she was so gracious to ask me to sit in with her for a little bit at Birdland when she was there a couple years ago. Man, what a treat that was. I mean, that was, she's one of those
so
people.
lovely. Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
She's one of those people. I don't get nervous. We all put our pants on one leg at a time, stuff like that. But there are certain people, and she's one that it's like, man, she's the real shit,
She has an interesting story. She her hands, I don't remember exactly now, but something happened with her hands where she couldn't play piano, and that's why she started singing more.
Well, I don't want to say thank God, but it opened another door, another channel, you know?
Yeah, amazing.
You know, I texted her recently, or I don't know, maybe I didn't. I don't know if whatever it was, but I was listening to Burke's Works,
Yeah.
her records. Man, it is so killing. Oh, I know. I'm not dropping names here. I don't want to sound, but I was going up to Brooklyn or something. I was talking to Joe Locke on the phone. We were talking about something, and as soon as I hung up, because I have a playlist in my car, what pops up but Dina Rose and Joe Locke's on it. It's like, holy shit, you know. Dina takes the baddest solo on that, you know, and you know, Joe is Joe. He plays so great. It's just beautiful. It's like, boy, there they both were in my car with me, you know. Yeah,
That's great.
I love
Hey,
her.
you know what? Dan actually found the song you wrote for the band
Oh,
on YouTube, Faded Brown.
a book faded brown. Yeah, yeah. That's that was done by the band on their last album called Jubilation. It's the opening cut.
Oh,
And that was, if I could tell you for a second, who I said, this engineer, Jim Tullio, who engineered while we were gone, dear friend out in Chicago, great songwriter, bassist, guitarist, and he put Rick Danko and I together on a jingle for Budweiser,
oh,
and I played harmonica, you know, from my house. I flew the track in, and Rick played bass and sang, and Jim Tullio did hand jive. It's the coolest little spot, man. It was like I did a Budweiser spot. It's very, very cool. But we never met. And Jim, who done work with the band and stuff, told Rick, he says, "Man, I got a song for you. This is a band tune, man. You got to hear it." And as soon as Rick heard it, he just fell in love with it. He called me and was saying what a fan he was of mine, and I'm on the other side saying, "What? Are you kidding me? No, 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 no! I appreciate it, man. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of yours." You know, it was so beautiful, and you know, it can bring me to tears. But when he passed away, he recorded it twice on some of the albums, The Last Waltz, and also on Jubilation. But they recited the lyric at his funeral because the song meant so much to him, you know. And and Carl Perkins did it too, and Carl wrote a really, really lovely note about it. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that song. That was one of those. That's one of those, you know, gift songs. I feel like, man, if I'm glad I got to write this. You know, I've written a lot of tunes. I'm really glad I got to write that one.
So, and I'm actually, I mean, I'm not going to play that because
Oh, it's okay.
they probably will take it down, but here are the lyrics. So, and it has your name on the top, Jost.
Yeah, these are. Some of these were changed just a little bit for them. They're not the exact. I could send the whatever if anybody ever wanted to know. I could send you the actual lyric. But it's very, very, very close. Yeah, there's a couple. You know, it's funny. Like in some of the reviews, there's some things that think this is one of the band's best tunes that they ever wrote. You know, I was like, hey man, I wrote that. You know. And I'm so honored that they did the tune. It's man, you know, to have them and Carl Perkins both do the song,
Yeah.
is tremendous, you know. And I love it so much because, you know, I never want to be called a jazz singer, just a musician. But you know, if I'm known as a jazz vocalist or, you know, writing these jazz charts and stuff, it's like, yeah, but you know, here's Book Faded Brown, man. Carl Perkins, like, you know, probably the father of rockabilly music.
Yeah.
Did two of my tunes. He did this other tune half the time, which is just a cool romp, you know. And then the band. I mean, what a fantastic! Talk about an iconic band. Like, geez, talk about pockets, and just, you know. Oh gosh, oh, I just lost his name. I can't stand myself. Drummer, you know, the drummer. Singer
Wait. Oh, like where?
for the band.
Oh,
Oh,
Dan.
somebody say it, please.
Dan will say it. Dan, drummer, singer for the band. It'll take him a second to
Yeah, that's.
answer my question.
But man, what, you know, that was such a great band. Like, their pockets. Talk about organic. I mean, that was like, you know.
Great band. Yeah.
So to have those two entities record my stuff, jazz, blah blah blah. It's like, wow, man, that is,
Levon Helm.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Joyce.
Run home. Thank you. What a singer, man. If you got, like Life is a Carnival, like, you guys got, if you haven't, like, check out some of their live performances of that. It's just killing, man. It's just killing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. So I'm looking over here at some of your other wonderful things. Also, you are a 4-category Billboard Song Contest winner. That sounds very impressive.
Sounds impressive. Well, when they first started, I mean, because the awards are from many years ago, but when they first started, when I was pitching tunes, I sent in a bunch of songs and I won 4 categories. And believe me, I was more surprised than anybody else, but one of them was for Half the Time, the song I'm telling you about, this country tune. One was for this tune, which at the time, was kind of, it wasn't like sequencers and stuff were coming out. It was called What a World, and it had all these different little artifacts of like Beatles tunes and pop tunes and stuff, that made this one song. And the basic story was, someday like someone will be saying to Coltrane, what a great solo you played, when it really wasn't him. It was some sequenced thing or something. It was long before that. It was just on the verge of that. But so I felt like, I was onto something with that. Honestly, another one was called She Was Mine. Oh, yeah. It's a really lovely tune. You would love this tune. Piano vocal, it's a sweet tune that it's this love relationship. This is when phone calls cost a dime. That had he just called to tell her that he loved her, he just didn't have the courage, whatever. He was too shy, whatever, and he never told her. And then, but it's always like, you were mine, you were mine, you were mine. She was mine. Damn it, why didn't I just call? But it's a sweet tune, and yeah, I can't remember the 4th tune, but yes, that's true, and I'm really honored, and I'm really honored that I got some notice for that.
Yeah. Dan posted you doing Jungle Land.
Oh yeah, that's from. Not sure where that would be from. Hey, if you want to play something that's really short, I think it's 90 seconds. Just go on YouTube. It must be on my channel. It's from The Bitter End, and it's just the last part of Backstreets. And I'm doing this little thing there, and John Swana, he kind of picked up on it.
Sorry, what? And is it here, or would I type in something?
Oh, keep going down. Or just do a search. See up top there it says Paul Jost Enough to Believe in?
Yeah.
Yeah, put their Backstreets. It's only 90 seconds long. It's just like, but it gives you an idea of the energy of what's... There it is, right there, Live at the Bitter End. Yeah. Yeah, Donald Edwards.
Well, we swung forever, friends, on the back streets until the
Wow. Cool, man.
So
Wow.
that just gives a little sense of like the energy and like maybe where it's gone
Yeah.
emotionally, That's John Swana on EV, electronic valve instrument, Jim Moore on piano, Chico Huff on bass, Tony Maselli on vibes, and great Donald Edwards on drums. And man, it was such a great time. We were all reading. I think that was our first. Oh no, it was a second performance. So, and Springsteen writes. He writes as many words as I speak. It's very difficult to like memorize all his words. It's a lot, especially when you're only doing like 1 or 2 or 3 gigs, in a year or something.
Yeah.
But that was really fun. Yeah, thanks for playing that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And, so like saying, like staying open to possibilities. So in the moment there, like I do this rise, it wasn't planned, that we didn't do that before. And I guess to John, great, on Evie, it sounds kind of like maybe it's a siren, and he starts doing like these things, kind of sounds like a police siren on the back streets. It's like, holy shit, we got something. It was, just this other thing. It was just great.
It was great. And what I noticed too was when you got up to the top, well, first of all, when you started that slide, because first I thought you were holding that note and then I heard you sliding, and that was exciting. And then when you got up to the top note, the guitar player matched you, which was thrilling because it emphasized it more. That was.
Yes, that's John Swana on EVI. There was no guitar in the band. That thing, that's it.
Oh, behind you it was bass? I didn't even know.
That was bass,
I thought it was guitar.
Bass.
Oh my God.
Bass, yeah. And then John Swana, who's like one of the most, really, for me, one of the greatest trumpet players ever. He's one of the most lyrical.
What's his name?
John Swana, Swana. Pick up any of his records; they're all phenomenal.
Okay.
And something happened where he stopped. He couldn't play for a while. Something happened with his embouchure. I'm not sure exactly what.
Yeah.
So he gravitated to this EVI and became a genius at that.
Yeah.
And now he's back. Thank God, he's back to playing some trumpet and started playing some trombone a little bit. One of the sweetest people you'll ever meet, and one of the deepest musicians I've ever heard. I study a lot of his stuff. A lot of things that I've
Yeah.
ripped off.
Hey, so sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to say this before I end off because I want you to know who is coming on tomorrow. I went to college with him. His name is John Robinson, or J.R. Robinson. He was a drummer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He's worked with Quincy in all kinds of stuff. He worked with Chaka Khan for a long time. And we had a band in college.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, so he's on tomorrow. And then, do you know Nathan Breedlove?
I'm sure I'm mixing him with the race car driving.
Oh, he's a trumpet player, and he's from back east. I saw him play with a group on Gail Boyd's show, Alternative Venues.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's really very big heart guy, and real deep into the music. So he's Wednesday, so that's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, well everything is fun with you. I mean, here we are. It's like 2 hours, and just like I tell people when they come on, it's like you'll feel like you barely started when it's over. It's like 2 hours. Trust me.
I know. I always laugh. I have to with some people I have to kind of apologize, before, but then by the end they're like, "That was 2 hours." No?
Yeah. You're great, Cathy. Thank you for having me. I really
Love
appreciate
you.
it.
I would like hang on longer, but it's Gary's birthday, and grandkids are coming over, so I got to get off. But yeah, thank you, Paul Jost. And see, this was a whole kind of different conversation. I mean, we talked about stuff that we have talked about before, but also we talked about some new stuff, especially your writing, which is cool, to actually, the career is a funny thing because you may do a whole bunch of stuff and then just move on, and talk about and think about other stuff, right? Because it's a long time past.
the whole thing, I've always had a studio in my house, and even when I was playing drums for different people and all this stuff, I always had my own projects that I was doing. I was always writing. I always had my own art that I was working on, and there was a time if you gave me 2 letters and 4 numbers, I'd tell you what it was, who made it, what the specs were, blah blah blah. Totally engaged in that stuff. And then after a while, like I've written over 400 songs for music libraries, like 40 albums, 10 songs each, and that's more still honest, but you're writing for a goal. Like it might be like we need dramatic music, 10, and I would write 10 dramatic things,
Yeah. Yeah.
So different than songwriting with lyrics and everything. But just always doing it. And then at some point it was like, okay, I'm good with this. I'm just going to let this go. I want to get more into live performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always playing drums for live performance, but I felt I came to this point in my life where I wanted to go out and sing, that I had maybe a perspective of all this life experience and things that I wanted to bring to my storytelling. So I'm going to go out as a vocalist now. I still play drums now, but not at the level or frequency that I used to. And so I kind of gave up all the stuff with the studio. It's like if I needed to record something, I'd go someplace else. My stuff is still downstairs. Occasionally I use it, but not, it was on all the time. Then when COVID hit, everybody was going to studio stuff, doing live streams. It's like, but I just put all that stuff away. I'm not doing that anymore, man. I could have banged that stuff out like like my stuff is antiquated. Like, oh man, like I just want to do the live stuff.
I was talking about that. God, there's what is going on out here? It looks like these. It looks like smoke. It couldn't be smoke because it's raining. I think it's clouds or something. And it's not like I'm up in the mountains, and it's like these. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. Strange. So anyway, but yeah, you were just saying, what were you just saying?
Well, I was kind of talking to you. You were saying about the journey of what you do. Like sometimes you know different paths. You leave one thing to go on to something else.
Oh yeah.
And so I kind of left the recording side where like all I did. I mean, I'd be honest to God, I'd be up in the morning, 7 o'clock, have some breakfast, boom, right down in the studio until it was time to go gig, and I'd all day.
Oh, I know. I was just going to mention that I was talking with Michelle Weir this morning, and we were just talking about technology, and how it's changed, and how we're organized. We're always organizing. She and I are like, we've talked for years and years about organizing, and but the technology, I'm actually buying a small cassette player that translates directly to a USB. So I'm really looking forward to that because I have, I think I told you about that earlier. So I have so many tapes that I want to transfer over and I want to listen to, but technology, it keeps moving, and like your studio, I mean, you can still use it, but
oh yeah,
there's just so much.
But I can only go to 16-bit. I'm not at 24.
Yeah.
My whole system operates on 2 gigs. Gigs. You can't even run a program. Some programs with 2 gigs. But that's my whole system. But still, I can get like a really good vocal sound, and occasionally do stuff where I fly into other places. But tell them it's 16-bit or harmonica things I would do on there. But yeah, it's amazing. And that thing you were talking about. I want to transfer a bunch of stuff. I have all these DAT tapes. Oh my God, I have, so many, and a lot of things I want to transfer over. And when I'm keeping all this stuff, I'm not a real saver of things, and sometimes I wish I was. I wish I had kept a photograph or something to have that memory of like, oh right, because people will remind me. It's like, oh right, right, okay, yeah, that was great. I forgot all about it. And I thought, well, at some point in my life, when things slow down, like I'll put on these cassettes and I'll relive the moments, and I'll listen to myself playing drums at like 14 years old, and all this, and all these little different things. But yeah, here I am. I'm going to be 70 in August, and I have no intention of just like sitting around listening to that stuff. I'm still thinking about tomorrow. What's tomorrow hold?
I know.
So I think, well, maybe I'm 80. You know, if I'm still breathing at 80, I'll listen to that stuff. Of course, they'll all be dust. The cassettes will all be dust by then.
Yeah.
Still have a track player that works.
Well, you know, and this is not a portent of things to come, but so Joe DiOrio and I recorded a long time ago this duo record, and I hoped that it would come out on this Italian label that was basically, you know, in awe of Joe DiOrio, and they turned it down because Joe was using he was using an effect on his guitar that he wanted to try out, and they didn't dig it. So it kind of went away. The project went away, but I thought, I'm keeping this project because at some point, I hope, you know, I can bring it back. Anyway, Joe, so it's probably about, gosh, long time ago. I don't know how long, but long time ago, Joe had not a heart attack, a stroke. And so, gosh, he moved to Connecticut. I mean, there was, you know, a lot that happened after that. And then he started listening to his old stuff. And one day he called me and he said, you know what? Let's put this project out. It's so pretty. And there it was. So then we put it out day by day. And it is a really pretty project. I mean, just listening to it again and again is, because his playing is kind of like Jim Hall or something. He's just so beautiful player. And every time I'd bring up a swing tune, he'd go, you know, let's try this as a ballad. So the whole thing was ballads. And it was really beautiful. It was a beautiful project.
I'm guessing you may be using a chorus or something, and maybe they thought it was, you know, wasn't pure. So
yeah. I forget what it was, and I don't even know if he said it on the record, you know, on the cover, but yeah.
Crazy.
Anyway. All right, Paul Jost, I love you.
I love you too, Cathy, and thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everybody. I don't see who's here or there, but just from what you told me, but thank everybody that showed up and, you know, participated. And Dan, thank you so much for, you know, Dan is the executive producer of While We Were Gone, and it's only because of him that record has seen the light of day. It was really only being sent out to like radio or to get some, just to get, you know, just let people know I'm still here through all the pandemic. You know, we're still creating, we're still finding a way. And I was just doing it as a digital release, and Dan was the one that said, no, it should be. So I'm thanking you, but I can never thank him enough. It's just so beautiful that he put some wind under my wings, you know.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, man. It's going to be a great year.
Safe, healthy, and inspired.
Yes. Love you.
Love you too. See you, Cathy.
Bye. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.